Hey everyone, Jonathan Liu here, and I wanted to make this video for those of you who don't know me or haven't heard me speak or know my story. Just wanted to share with you here kind of my life story and the struggles and successes I've experienced, how I went from private school to prison to speaking to being completely lost to where I am right now. And I just wanted to really just come clean with everything and be transparent and authentic and just put myself out there. So I wanted to also just share some visuals with you. I'm a very visual person, so I feel like images can really help tell my story and help you understand where I'm coming from. Okay, so I guess I'll just start from the very beginning. I was born in, I was born and raised in California. Lived in a town called Hacienda Heights. It's part of LA County. And I grew up with, very good Asian parents, and they both really valued education, right? So my dad here, he graduated from MIT, and my mom went to this University of Taiwan, which was like the best school in Taiwan. So it was a lot of, I guess you can say, pressure for me to do well, get good grades, and attend a good college, get a good job. That was kind of my paradigm growing up. And so they valued education so much, but one thing at home that they didn't really express or we didn't really practice was emotion. And we weren't the type of family to always, give each other hugs and say, I love you. And we don't really verbally express, how proud we are of our children or really talk about emotions too much. Now, growing up, another big influencer in my life was this man here, and Tung Ching Lu. He's my grandfather. And what a lot of people don't know about him, he was actually a war hero in, back in World War II. There was a group of these pilots that called the Doolittle Raiders, and they basically went on this like secret mission to go bomb Japan after Pearl Harbor. And sure enough, they did their thing. But they ran out of fuel and crash landed in China, and my grandfather happened to be in the area and was able to basically hide them from the Japanese and smuggle them out of the country. So he was considered a war hero, and I just remember as a kid we would always go to these, they call them Doolittle reunions, and he'd be treated like a celebrity, autographs and free food and all this good stuff. But at the time I didn't know what was really going on. And this is him right here back in his days. And one thing that my grandfather really instilled in me as a child was the importance of family. He was always the glue that just bonded everyone together. And so I had a lot of family, like deep down inside I had a lot of family values. So continuing on, what happened as a child, I was, my parents wanted me to get good grades, so they put me in all of these after-school daycare programs. That's me right there. I've always wanted to be some sort of like rock star or entertainer of some sort. But like I said, my parents wanted me to just study, get good grades, so they put me in a lot of these, math classes and English outside tutoring centers. And I studied and I did well and I kept doing well, and I just, I wanted to please my parents. And, I felt like the grades I got were pretty good. But as I got older, it was just like, it felt like it was never enough. It was like, didn't matter how many A's I got, it wasn't enough. And pretty soon the studying got very stressful. And eventually I was just like, man, it was getting tough. And in high school, my parents actually sent me to a boarding school, private boarding school, and I never understood why until actually recently, a couple of weeks ago, I talked to them, and they were, even though my grades were good, I guess they were concerned that I wasn't understanding the actual concepts. I was good at memorizing things, but I wasn't understanding how to apply it into daily life. So they sent me to a private boarding school. This is me back then, and at that time, I just wanted to be cool and fit in and have friends. I didn't have that many friends at the time. And, so the next year I kind of changed my hairstyle and I started becoming cool, didn't really care about academics so much. I was on my own, living at school, made some friends. And then I met this girl, Sarah Lowe, who, was my first, I guess you could say, real girlfriend, or real, puppy love. And I had such big plans with her. We wanted to, go to the same college, graduate, get married, buy a house, the whole shebang. That was the plan. Unfortunately, the plan didn't go that way. I remember one summer, summer of 1999, Sarah calls me and she's like, you know, I'm just not feeling it anymore, and feel like we got to go different ways. Just need to take a break. So we broke up, and that was the first time I ever experienced heartbreak. And I tell you, I was devastated. I didn't eat or sleep for a week. I never felt this type of emotion before, of like just hurt and sad and pain and agony and suffering. And, because at home it was always just, sheltered. It was fine. And this was just something totally out of my control. And I kind of just lost a sense of who I was. And I kind of was like, what am I doing? I stopped caring. I stopped, wanting to get good grades. I didn't care about that. I just wanted to do things my own way. And so eventually I actually convinced my parents to just take me out of this private school and let me go to a public school. And that's when everything changed. I started doing things differently. I started saying, you know what, fuck it, I'm going to go party. So I started going to these raves and partying. I started experimenting with drugs, started selling drugs, making a lot of money. And, I thought things were good. Eventually I even ended up joining a gang because I wanted just love and connection from people. And I felt like these people, these guys got me. They understood me. They didn't judge me for what I was doing. They accepted me. In fact, they encouraged me to, do what I was doing, selling drugs and making money and doing that type of thing. But eventually what happened was the gang violence grew, and it started with just fist fights, and then there was the knives. And guns came out, people were getting shot, people were getting killed, and it was crazy. Eventually, all of our homes got raided by the police, right? And we all ended up going to jail. And, after jail, I was just like, man, what's going on? I remember, kind of a big turning point, or at least an internal shift was, after my house was raided, I remember I was in handcuffs, and I was sitting out on the porch, and I remember it was, 6:30, 7 in the morning, and the cops had, banging on my door, open the door, got a warrant, the whole thing you see in the movies. It happened, right? And the worst part, wasn't when they were, tossing up my room, searching for everything, finding my drugs and guns and everything I had. It was when they went upstairs and they woke my parents up at 6:30 in the morning, brought them down in handcuffs too. And I saw them sitting outside. I saw them taking my parents down in handcuffs. And I just internally, I knew that this wasn't really the life for me. This wasn't what I wanted. And I wanted to change. I didn't know how. And after I got out, I was lucky. I took a deal and didn't do that much time. And when I got out, I wanted to shift. I wanted to change, but I didn't know what to do. And I ended up going through another breakup with the girl that I was with for 4 years, and I just turned to alcohol. Just started drinking my pain away, drinking the sorrow away, just drinking. And eventually, I was drinking so much, I went out and I got drunk and was driving and totaled my car, and could have killed somebody that night. Grateful I didn't, but got caught again, and this time they were, I was in and out of jail a few times by now, and at this time they're like, nope, you're going to prison now, buddy, you screwed up. So sure enough, I went to prison and did some time there. This is me in prison, and I was just, man, I was lost. I didn't care about anything. The only thing I wanted was to get high and to get drunk. Those were the only things I wanted. So when I got out, I was actually, real lost and confused. Didn't know what I was doing. Just kind of went through the motions. I didn't drink so much. I didn't, get high as much. I just kind of, had a probation or parole officer checking in on me. And somehow, a year later, I got off. This is my certificate of discharge. I got off parole, and it was big for me because I had been in the system for 6 years at this point, and I never thought I'd get out, and I did. And then a couple months later, I got introduced to something called theta healing by my mom. Her friend was doing some theta healing thing, and she wanted me to go, and sure enough, I go, and it was good. It was good. This lady started asking me questions. She was talking about all sorts of like subconscious beliefs and all these things that I was never aware of. And we get to talking, and she asked me about, I don't know how it happened, but she asked me something, and somehow I got talking about my friend Simon, who was shot and killed about 5 years prior to this. And then it was Joanna and her son Derek was there, and all of a sudden in this session, Derek looks at me and he goes, "Hey man, I think your friend's here. He's got a message for you." And I was like, "Oh, what?" And I just kind of sat there and I listened. I was like, "What is it?" And he said 4 things that changed my life forever. It's 4 words. And he says, "It's not your fault. It's not your fault." And I broke down. The tears started streaming, and I just started crying and crying. And it was, I felt like I was crying for like 15 minutes, but it was, more like 3. But I had held in so much. Like, it was such a huge emotional release for me, because I hadn't cried for 10, 15 years prior to this. And, I had so much that needed to come out. Finally, when I released it, it was just like this, I felt hope again. I saw the light at the end of the tunnel. And this lady, Joanna's like, "Dude, I'm teaching a theta healing class. If you want to come." So I'm like, "Yeah, I'm in." I go, and this theta healing thing just transforms my life completely. Right? So I go to the class. Let's see, Joanna's right here. This is her son, Derek. And I just really learned a lot about myself, about the beliefs I have, about the emotions I'm holding, about just being aware of my thoughts. And that took me on a whole new path. I continued my education. This is another one of my teachers, Vicky. I continued learning about this, and it changed my life, literally transformed my life from, just being completely lost and just wanting to get high and drunk. I eventually started to just naturally, stop getting high. I stopped drinking as much, and I just sobered up. I met my beautiful wife, Bridget, in one of these healing classes. We've got to spend some time together, do some cool things. I graduated college, got my first job at a hotel, Pacific Palms Resort, because this was really big for me. One of my biggest blocks was, hey, I'm a felon, I'm a double felon. How am I going to get a job? So this really, that first job really opened up a lot of things because I was the front desk, like the face of this company. And then after that, I continued in the hospitality industry, worked at a timeshare resort. And eventually I got tired of, the employee mindset and just working for, these entry-level jobs and always having this big gap between middle level management and upper level. And there was this big communication gap. So I wanted to do something on my own, and I ended up getting involved with real estate, something I've always wanted to. And, I worked my butt off for 5 months with no pay, no salary, no guarantee, nothing. And I earned this check right here for $17,000. And I was like so stoked. I was like, yes, finally I made it, right? And I continued to do some more real estate, and it just kind of got tiring for me. And I don't know if it was just a self-sabotaging belief or what, but I didn't have the passion in it anymore. I didn't feel excited about it. So I got into something else. I wanted to work with kids. It was a big thing with me, and being a double felon, it was really hard. But I tried. I did my best. I filled out all the applications. I did everything that I could, and it took me 2 years. But I finally got this, which is a conditional exemption approval from the Department of Social Services that allowed me to work with kids. So I ended up, interning at a preschool. So I went from prison to preschool, and I was able to work with these children, and it was really healing for me to just be with these just light beings, these little kids who were just no judgment, just full of love, full of just innocence, and it was an amazing experience. Then I actually was, I was looking for something else, and I went to this thing called Experts Academy with Brendon Burchard, and this opened up just my eyes to the whole personal development space. And it was huge. It was huge. I was just like, oh my God, I saw this guy and he was doing amazing things, and he was just so inspirational, and he was successful, and I was like, dude, I want to do that. I want to do that. So I just dropped everything and started making YouTube videos and doing all this stuff. I had no idea what I was doing, didn't know anything about marketing, and I hit a roadblock. I was making all these videos, but nobody was seeing them, and I couldn't make any sales. I didn't have any packages. I didn't know anything about that. So I ended up taking some odd jobs, just to kind of get by, to make ends meet. And then I wanted to speak. So I ended up going to Toastmasters, and then I met some people in the speaking industry, and then and my big goal was to speak at a TEDx, and I was, I didn't speak in front of like 100 people, and I was able to, that year, I was able to speak at my first TEDx at a high school. From then, this is my friend Richard Quill who introduced me to the TEDx organizer, and he brought me to a training. I started wanting to just improve my speaking skills. Ended up taking a training with this guy, Joel Bauer, one of my mentors in speaking, training, and branding. And just things started opening up for me at this point. Things were going good. I started speaking at more high schools, different conferences, doing workshops for students, speaking at detention centers. And it was all good, right? Everything's like going good, and I don't know what happened. I don't know if it's one of those like reaching my upper limit, and then all of a sudden, boom, just everything crashed down. At this point, my grandmother had passed away, and I just kind of like, whoa, I just stopped, and I didn't have the passion to speak to high school students. I was like, they're not my target demographic, and I just kind of stopped for a while and went down in this zone of like, what am I doing? Am I doing this right? And went back to my comfort zone of just going to my family and feeling protected. And I was like, oh man, I don't know what I'm gonna do now. But surely but slowly, steadily, I started to gain my confidence back. I was like, you know what, maybe I'm supposed to do something else. And I got introduced to another mentor of mine, Oliver, who was out in Sedona, and he taught me the art of selling high tickets. So I went to one of his masterminds, and I learned all this stuff. Wow, like I was charging way too low for the things I was doing, and I want to do bigger things. And I actually had the opportunity to move out to Sedona, and I met some really cool people. This is my friend Jimmy Chen here. And it was really cool. It was just like a really exciting time. I went from like, what am I doing? What am I going to do? To, oh my God, all these opportunities are coming. And I actually booked my first high ticket sale, and things were going good. My wife and I were doing business together now, and it was just, everything was perfect. Right? I was like, oh my God, nothing can go wrong. And sure enough, that upper limit is going to find some way to bring me down. And that way this time happened to be with our little 5-year-old Yorkie, Shinko, like the cutest, sweetest, friendliest puppy we've ever had. And one night we were at my parents' house, and I guess we left the door open, and she heard a sound outside and ran out. And there's theories that, something got her, right? Maybe a coyote, maybe, I don't know, but she just vanished, and that was really hard for us. I'm grateful because it did bring my wife and I together on a closer and more intimate relationship. And it's just been, it was really hard though, because we just kind of closed up to everything. And the only thing we had going was we had this opportunity to go to Norway and experience this health clinic, this health optimizing clinic that our friend Mandy introduced us to. And sure enough, we went to Norway and got to enjoy Norway the first few days, just kind of traveling, checking things out. And then we met this guy, Thomas. This is Mandy right here. And Thomas was like the scientist. And he's got like these machines, like technology-based machines, and he could literally just diagnose the root cause, just identify the root cause of any illnesses that you're doing. And I'm talking like you go from just regular, common, digestive issues to cancers to diabetes to everything, anything you think possible. Like just. And I'm not going to say that he can, cure cancers or anything like that. I can't legally say that, but I will say that he's got a very high success rate of cancer patients that go in and see him, and afterwards they are cancer-free. Don't know how that happens, but I'm guessing through the process that he takes them through. So it was really cool to experience that. And one of the big reasons of us going out to Norway too was we just packed up everything. We sold all our furniture and gave up our apartment, and just like we're just gonna take this leap of faith because we wanted to also build our online business while traveling. That's one of our lifestyle goals, was to travel, experience life, and be able to earn an income doing it, right? So we just kind of just took this huge leap of faith, went to Norway, did our thing. Then I went to this is Thomas and his family, and this is Oliver and Mandy, just hanging out, just good people. And after Norway, I went to Germany because, I have family in Germany. I wanted to go visit my family out there. And this is my cousin Sasha. He took care of us out in Cologne or Bonn, Germany. And then went to Dortmund, and this is more family. And it was just really cool. I feel really blessed because we were always taken care of, always had, even though we've been worrying about money, but we've always had an abundant supply of, money, whether it's from us or from family giving it to us or taking care of us. Just feel really blessed. And then, so we also had like this all paid for trip to, Italy, France. We got to see the Eiffel Tower, which was my wife Bridget's dream. So that was really cool. All these things, and then we actually took another leap of faith to go to Malaysia. We had this calling and guidance, let's go to Malaysia. And sure enough, my buddy Jimmy Chen right here took us in too. And we're like, we have a place to stay. And then our other friend Jolyn, who I met at an event prior to this, she lived in Malaysia, and Jolyn and Jimmy actually lived close together. So we all just kind of met up and just hung out. And, I thought, here's the thing. I thought coming to Malaysia, we were going to do some sort of business and make some sort of money. Truth is, we didn't. In fact, I think we actually did something better, was we made really close relationships and made some new awesome connections and awesome friends. And I'm very blessed for that. But the struggle right now is, both my wife and I are going through is just, what are we, what's the future vision? What do we want? What's the end game, so to speak? So it's really hard to define our message and our target demographic and things of that sort. And I'm just letting this out because, we've invested a ton of money, and right now we're in a lot of debt, probably about, almost, let's say about 80K in debt. Income is not coming in at the moment. And right now we're making a big decision to choose to go back to my parents' house and stay with them for a while, because I think right now that's one of the best options we have. And it's a little bit humbling, or very humbling, and for us to go back, because we always said, we're not gonna move back to my parents' house. It's one thing. It doesn't matter. We'll find something. We'll make it work. And now we're actually choosing to go back. And it's been a journey. I've had a lot of ups and downs, and life has been good and life has been challenging. Right now, I actually just enrolled in this 4-week immersion mastermind with Tim Matthews, and it's really just about being me, allowing myself to be me. Because I think when you allow yourself to be who you truly are, all the kind of technical stuff just kind of dissipates, and you just allow yourself to be, and abundance just shows up in your life. The universe will provide for you. And right now, as I'm saying that, I have a fear coming up. Like, wow, is this really true? Am I doubting myself? But, I'm coming clean with everything. And right now, I'm in this 4-week immersion to really get back to my heart, because my heart, there's no place for bad vibes in my heart. That's going to be my new mantra. And that's pretty much it at this point. These next 4 weeks are really going to be interesting to see what unfolds and what happens when I allow myself to just fully be me, because my challenge has been just sticking with one thing, focusing, consistently doing it over and over and over and over, or at least, sticking in one direction, because I tend to dabble a lot. I tend to go from here to here. Oh, let me try this. Even when things are going well, I'm like, oh, this isn't as fun anymore. I think I'm going to go look at this thing, right? Oh, okay, now my direction's over here. And then, oh, okay, that's not fun. I'm going to find something else. So that's a big challenge for me. And so I'm going to have a good next 4 weeks. All right, so that's pretty much my story. Hope you enjoyed that. Glad you took the time to really, watch it all the way through. Appreciate it. Love you much. Stay tuned. I'm going to have some more videos. I want to do this more consistently. And thank you for tuning in. If you have any questions, feel free to just comment. Let me know. And that, have a beautiful day. Bye for now.